Well, I finished my second game this year of 2026. This is July 20th. Uh, we're off work because we're honoring Martin Luther King Day. But I beat Miles Morales Spider-Man. Beat it. I was like, man, I couldn't believe I beat this game, man. And what gets me is this. I was surprised how good this game was. I really was. Because when I played regular Spider-Man, yeah, so after I beat Spider-Man, because it took me forever, I told you guys a story about Spider-Man. Now, I was wrong about Spider-Man because, like I told you guys before, when I got Spider-Man, I had it. I couldn't get into it. I don't know why I wasn't liking it, and I tried to play it, and I kept getting stuck. And then I owned it for a while, and I was like, you know what, it's time to get rid of it. So I got rid of Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Miles Morales. I got rid of God of War Ragnarok. I got rid of Ghost of Tsushima. I got rid of all of them, all one shot. And so I got back. I didn't have my PS4 Pro on for a while, so I turned it on and I seen that I had a Spider-Man in there, and I was like, yeah, man, I should have finished that game, but I said I just didn't like that game for some reason. So I got on this guy I follow on YouTube, and I looked at his gameplay, and I kept saying, let me see what this is all about. Maybe I was wrong about this game. I don't know what made me got interested in Spider-Man again. So I ended up seeing how much progress I had on my PlayStation 4 Pro, and I went and bought this. And that's the second. I bought this after I got rid of it, and I really enjoyed this. So not only did I go back and rebuy that, I rebought Spider-Man Miles Morales because I never really give it a shot. And I also went back and bought Spider-Man 2. So I won't do that no more because that's a lot of money dropping. You know, this was not even open because of the fact that I just ain't gonna play it right now. But after I got done with Spider-Man 1, I decided to go play Miles Morales Spider-Man 2. And wow, you guys, I think that for me, I think I'm really impressed with the story. And let me tell you why. It's because I'm gonna try to say this where it makes a lot of sense. I was born back in 1959, so this has nothing to do with you being black and white and all that. And I'm gonna get to the point about this, okay? So I grew up with Spider-Man. Spider-Man was I'm just fat little kid, can't lose weight. I was a late bloomer. I was a really late bloomer, and I was living out in the country, and I had to feed all those animals. I had to chop wood. I had to cut grass. I had chores. I had to fix fences. I had to clean out chicken stalls, pig stalls, all that kind of stuff, man. It's just, it's just farm work. And so at that time, Spider-Man, my imagination used to just run rampant, man. And I used to get all those Spider-Man books, and I was just so immersed in those games, man. It felt like those pages was coming to life, man. So when I heard about Miles Morales, I was like, Miles Morales? Who is Miles Morales? Okay, so people's like, you don't know who Miles Morales was, man? He's my favorite Spider-Man. But there's only one Spider-Man, I said. And then, and people started educating me on, you got to understand, man, that was back, see, I graduated in 78, so that means that 1974 and 75, I was reading Spider-Man hard and heavy, or 73. Because my cousin was in sports and I wasn't, and we lived on a farm. Our aunt and uncle raised us, and his mom let him shipped him up to my aunt and uncle's, and my mom shipped me up to my aunt and uncle. So they couldn't have kids, so we were both raised by the same aunt and uncle. So they was kind of like our mom and dad, second mom and dad. I had my mom and dad in St. Louis, but my mom wanted to get me out of St. Louis just to. She didn't want me to run it. I know why she got me out of St. Louis, but anyway. So all the comics that he would read, hand-me-downs, I would read them too. So yeah, Spider-Man must have been his favorite because he bought a lot of Spider-Mans. Then he bought a lot of, he bought Fantastic Four, he bought Thor, and he bought the Hulk. and he bought Iron Man. So, all those characters, man, was just, that's why Marvel took off so much before they started getting silly with their latest movies. And when they first started off, man, they was on fire. The way they, Marvel built that, the Marvel studio built themselves up pretty much. They just, kind of got sidetracked with some of the stuff they pumped out later on. But man, I'm first 10, 12 years. But anyway, that's how come I fell in love with Spider-Man. I fell in love with that story. And then when Spider-Man came out and I knew that they was going to make a Spider-Man and Sam Raimi was behind it and stuff. And I remember I was working 3 jobs. I have custody of my 3 little boys. And when it got close and close to the release date, they started showing little trailers every now and then. I remember I told my kids, I looked at all 3 of them. I said, you guys are not going to school tomorrow. I said, I'm getting off work at 11 o'clock. And we're going out to the theater, and we're going to go watch Spider-Man. My 3 boys was like, really, Dad? I was like, yeah, you're not going to school. You're sleeping in. You're not going to school. That's my call. So I always tell them, I said, man, when I get old and I die, you guys going to probably be in your 40s or 50s saying, man, I remember when Dad told us we didn't have to go to school, man, and he kept us out of school because he loved Spider-Man so much. That was his favorite comic book. I'll never forget that because I said, you better be ready. So, man, I remember getting off. I had somebody take me home, drop me off at 11 o'clock because I took a half a day's vacation. And I remember walking out to that theater, and I was not let down at all. And I think the third Spider-Man gets too much hate. One where Tobey Maguire's doing the little dance. That didn't bother me that much. I actually own that. But anyway, back to Miles Morales. I didn't know anything about Miles Morales. So after I got done playing Spider-Man 2018 game, which took me forever and a day. I just told you what happened with that, and I finally completed it in 2026. I played Spider-Man Miles Morales. I ain't gonna lie, you guys. I didn't think I was gonna get into this. I kept sitting there going, man, I can't connect to it, man. It ain't grabbing me, man. And I kept sitting there saying, Vic, just keep playing the game, see what happens, man. Just keep playing the game. And this game, what I really like about Miles Morales, it really did its own thing. It did its own thing. And that's what I really like about it. Because I kept saying, huh. And, a lot of times I kept playing the game, I kept going, huh. And it's had its own little breathing world. So, when you're so used to Spider-Man, which that's me, and you play Miles Morales, somebody you have no idea about, and anything like that, it's like, man, I just can't. And I just because I just got done. You got to understand, I just got done with Spider-Man. And I just told you how much I love that game. And I was wrong about it. So when I went into Spider-Man Miles Morales, I was like, ain't this just going to be kind of like the same thing? But it's not. It's totally different. The mechanics were different. The story was so much different. It had its own little breathing world, man. It felt so disconnected from Spider-Man. And you had Spider-Man that would call him because Spider-Man was it was pretty slick. Because Spider-Man had went on a trip with Mary Jane, so he was just telling, Miles, this was Miles' first solo thing. And the story, I have to give these people that was behind this a round of applause to make it so totally different. I mean, because my attitude was like, oh man, this is just going to be a rehash. It's just a black character in a different suit and doing different shit. And that's coming from a guy that was born in 1959. That's all I knew was the original Spider-Man. But this is just, it's definitely a separation from the OG Spider-Man. And I have to give them a round of applause to pull this off like they did. Chef's kiss. I mean, his moves, his fighting skill, him and his little buddy was helping him upgrade his suit. I like how they did all that. I like the way the story was, what story was about. They was gonna blow up Harlem. There was a reason why all these people he was fighting, they was doing it for a worthy cause, but they were going about it wrong. He had an uncle that he found out hid a secret, and that was a good story. His best friend was the main villain, which that chick was bad. She had sacrificed herself at the end just to save him and stuff. Because I said one of them going to have to die because, she had done too much damage. But man, she was a badass. And her fight scene with Miles was pretty. The story, this is a good story. I have no idea how they pulled this off. They did not. There's no, because I played this last night because I knew I didn't have to go to work because Martin Luther King Day. So I was like, I sit there last night and I had to go to bed and I was like, Vic, you still need to get your rest. So I was like, because I knew I was going to work out. So I was like, I sit and watch the credit roll, and those credits rolled and they 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 rolled. I was like, God, man, is this going to ever end? Because because in Spider-Man 2018, I did the same thing because I was so happy that I beat the game, right? So then the credits rolled, and then there was a cutscene in there. I said, oh, man, cool, there's a cutscene. Then the credits rolled again in Spider-Man 2018 game. And then after it finally got out on rolling, it said, congratulations, you beat the game. Now, if you want to go back and do all the side missions, you can, or you can upgrade the difficulty, but congratulations, you beat the main story. And I was like, yes! Well, I did that with Miles Morales, and the same thing. A bunch of credits rolled, and then there was a cutscene. And then more credits rolled. Now, I mean, these credits was long and forever. I sit on this couch last night, and I just sit there going, I'm going to watch all these names go by. I even challenged myself to try to keep up with the roll as I was reading the names. I was like, man, that's a lot of people. There's a lot of people. I mean, a lot of people. And I mean a lot that's involved in making these games. Man, I kept sitting there because, I was just like. And then, I actually said, you know what, Vic, let's just read some of the names. So I was reading those names. Then I missed a couple names. I was reading those names. Then I missed a couple names. I kept saying, and it's pretty impressive to have that many people work on a game like that and tie all that in together like that. And it's just impressive. So I was glad I actually did that. But man, them credits rolled forever. And then at the end, Spider-Man Miles Morales said, congratulations, you beat the main story. Now you can go back and do this, or you can do Game Plus, or you can up the difficulty and play the story back over. But I was like, nope, I done beat this game. This is my second game of 2026. My second game, man. This one didn't take near as long because I said to myself, this is what I said. I said, Vic, you finally got Spider-Man. After all the crap you went through to beat Spider-Man, I mean, you was almost done, then you lost all your saves, and then you had to take it, and you had to reinstall it. Then you had to go. You couldn't go up in the cloud and get it because you didn't have a PS Plus. I told y'all that I had a PS Plus member. If I had a PS Plus member, I would have beat it sooner. I had to go to cloud to get it, recover it, but I didn't have PS Plus, so I had to play all that over. But when I played 2018 Spider-Man over, when I almost had beat before, but when I lost all my saves, but then when I played it, I was like, I think I'm getting into this more because I kind of like looked and I was like, I'm kind of getting into the story. Because I actually like to look at stories and read notes and all that kind of stuff. So I'm kind of into that stuff. So I said, slow down, beat the game. Because Vic, you ain't doing nothing. There's 15 bazillion streaming services out there. There's all kinds of stuff on TV to watch that you hardly ever watch because all you do is scroll. Stay on this game and just play it because I said you're going to end up you're going to end up going to YouTube and watching a YouTube video of somebody you like because all these streaming services got way too much stuff to watch. So, and now I really started getting into what Aunt May was doing. I'm talking about Spider-Man 2018, Aunt May, and, and it's so weird because all these games tie into each other. Because there was a part where Miles Morales, now let's get back on Miles Morales. Miles Morales' story was so different. And that's why I'm talking about it like this, because I'm like sitting there going to myself, they did not rush this at all. And before I played Miles Morales, I heard a lot of people talk about Miles Morales. They said it was a great game. And I was like, man, I can't see that game being so great. It's just the same damn thing. But Spider-Man 2018 broke me in because, man, I ain't going to lie. I was swinging. I was looking around. And that New York, I don't care what anybody says. I think they went through New York and took pictures and went through certain neighborhoods and subway. Because Miles Morales, man, he had stuff in there. Like, he had subway scenes. He had stuff in there that you had to do with the subway. I had to do where I had this part where I had to go chase this cat for this store owner called Spider-Man. This cat was called Spider-Man because he's named after Spider-Man. And then there was remarks about Miles Morales. People's like, you never should have put on that mask. That was one of your biggest mistakes. You're not Spider-Man. Regular Spider-Man wouldn't hide and all this kind of stuff. So he had a lot of weight on his shoulders because Spider-Man was out of town. He was overseas with Mary Jane. So it was kind of cool how they set this up. But anyway, in closing, so there was a part where I'm getting into this game because I'm sitting there going to myself. I'm saying to myself, I'm like, all right, Vic. I'm saying to myself, all right, Vic. I was like, man, damn. That's what I kept saying. I was like, wow. Because when I get amazed like that, that's what I say. I said, now they really had to rethink this thing. I mean, the characters, the neighborhood, the Harlem neighborhood, the story that they were trying to tell. Oh my God, wow. You know, I was just, and his power set, his abilities, they're so different from Spider-Man. And you could tell he looked up to Spider-Man because, you know, and the thing is, there was a part where he's going to fight the main girl that was behind it because it was his best friend. And she had lost a friend, so she was so mad, you know. And the stories are really cool because they let you know why everything is the way they are and why, you know, there was, you know, his uncle was hiding something. He found out his uncle was something that he didn't know, and his uncle found out is that he was Spider-Man. His uncle kind of figured out he was Spider-Man. He was looking out for him, but then his uncle betrayed him, and there's a lot of intergalactic, just interconnected stuff. And I was like, dang. You know, and the skill set, shoot. But there was a part where he went back to where him and that girl went to, you know, where they had this science project and they had won. And so when he's going to fight her in this place, he went back to where him and her was going to the science project, and then he went through that part. And then there was a part where him and her was trying to figure out how to open up this door. So when they were walking around, there was Peter Parker walking with Doc Ock in there, and you know, he was looking at Peter Parker and he was listening to them. And so I said, oh man, this is just crazy, man. So yeah, you guys, this is its own living and breathing world. I mean, you were isolated in a certain area of New York. You had James Jonas, you know, the newspaper guy, the Bugle, Daily Planet, whatever that thing's called. Wow, you guys, I cannot tell you how surprised I am with this Miles Morales game. This game, wow. Am I a big Miles fan? No. But I like him now. You got to understand, you guys, it has nothing to do with my color. Because you know, how can you not like Miles Morales? You know, I was born in 59, so I grew up with I grew up with the old Spider-Man. That's why I tell a lot of people, I say, I do not care for this new Spider-Man character. What's that dude's name? You know the new Spider-Man. I said the Spider-Man movies are okay, but you know, you have that ballpark. You have the ballpark that likes the Sam Raimi Spider-Man, and you have the ballpark that likes the Far From Home and No Way Far From Home and No Way whatever those new Spider-Mans are. I only liked one Spider-Man, and I could understand why you had to switch them up and had to change characters, because you know Tobey Maguire was getting too old to play that role. Then you had that one they squeezed in, Spider-Man 1 and 2, and I don't own those. I just don't get into those. But Garfield, he's good Spider-Man. And my son was like, well, Garfield played a better Peter Parker, and then Spider-Man, he said Tobey Maguire played a better Spider-Man. I don't know. And I get that, but I was just like, man, I Tobey Maguire Spider-Man, that's my best Spider-Man. And Tom Holland Spider-Man, I just never got into him. But I did watch all his movies, though, by the way. And I did not say I didn't like them. They're just not mine. You gotta understand, you guys, I told you I was born in 1959, so I'm more of the old style Spider-Man. But nah, man, this won me over. This character won me over. I see why a lot of people like Miles Morales, and I like Miles Morales. I love the story. I love the isolated story they told. I like how they deep dived into showing how he walked through the neighborhood and all the different cultures and stuff. Now, am I saying that Spider-Man 2018 has that? No, I ain't saying it doesn't have that. I'm just saying this is more of a centered story, I guess I'm trying to say. But it was just told in a way that was so convincing. I was sitting there going like this. I was like, dang, man. For me, I was like, wow, I ain't gonna lie, you guys. I was like, dang. But I'm Spider-Man out right now. So there's no way. Right now, I'm gonna switch off. I probably won't play this for like 3 months. I'm gonna wait and play this. Because I just got done with Spider-Man, and I just got done with Miles Morales last night. So I'm going to pop in another game and play that. But this is my second game of 2026, you guys. And like I told y'all the story. I told y'all my journey with Spider-Man and I mean, I literally got rid of all 3 of these freaking games and bought all 3 again. And I'm not ashamed to admit it. I was wrong. I was wrong about him. Because, you know, when people tell me about Miles Morales, I was like, I don't even know who Miles Morales is. And they said, oh, he's this and that and all that. And I said, I still don't know who it's like, they said, no, man, believe it or not. Damn, I said, I'm just old Spider-Man. But in closing, when Miles Morales, when Spider-Man came back to town, he was just sitting there waiting on him, and then Miles Morales came down, he's hanging upside down, and he was drinking his coffee upside down, man. And it was kind of funny because, he was asking Spider-Man, how can you drink that coffee upside down? He was trying to mimic Spider-Man, and he couldn't do it. But then at the end, when Spider-Man come back down, he eased down, he was drinking that coffee upside down. I was like, man, this is just, man, you guys, wow. I can go on and on and on about this game, but whew, yeah. Miles Morales, man, I'm really impressed with that. And I've never been a Miles Morales fan. I just never have. I just didn't know much about that character because, it just wasn't, OG Spider-Man. But this, my hat's off to the game developers, all the people that was behind it, every little intricate that they put in this, all the little skill sets and all the gadgets that was totally different from Spider-Man. I mean, they separated these two. They are not the same. The only thing they can do is they're like a human spider and they can swing. There's some similarities, but the suits are different. I like when Spider-Man's like, cool suit. He goes, yeah, because him and his buddy designed that suit. Oh, man, you guys. Anyway, God bless. We'll catch you next video. But, yeah, this is my second game of 2026. I told y'all I'm going to start finishing some of these games this year.